Hey, so I want to speak a bit about a subject that I feel very strongly about, which I guess is true of a lot of the subjects I speak about on my channel, um, because I feel strongly enough to put my views out there. I want to speak about the paparazzi and specifically attitudes towards them, or rather, tolerance towards them. I think that just had a little bit of dust on the screen there. I um I think it's very obvious that if you look at any video connected with a paparazzi, there is genuine, widespread contempt for the way they behave. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Most people look on them with contempt because they are stalkers. That's what they are. But they still continue doing what they're doing. In some cases, seemingly with impunity. I came across a video the other day. And it was misleading because it said something that it was from, I believe it was either Getty Images or Time Magazine, which are both respected publications, right? Well established, well known publications. And it was of Jackie Onassis, as she then was, that famous windswept look. It was her hair blowing in the wind, and um, she was a very elegant, beautiful lady. So of course she was very photogenic, but what the caption, it was misleading because it failed to mention, at least not in the way it was presented. You thought it was kind of a straightforward, authenticated photo of a public figure, with her permission. But no, it's paparazzi photos by Ron Galella, the so-called pioneer or father of the paparazzi. um, and apparently he was besotted by Jackie Onassis. He pursued her, he stalked her for years. I believe that's what it is, to the point where she considered legal action against him. I don't know the full story, but I understood she tried to take legal action. Now, he actually tried to condone his behaviour and said if you're in the public eye, that's comes with the territory. Now, the paparazzi themselves and paparazzi apologists, this is the regular excuse. You're in the public eye, so what happens, you have to put up with it, basically. I really, really take issue with this attitude because basically it's saying that if someone happens to be successful, whether they be a musician or an actor, actress, sports person, and some politicians, some business people, if they're in the public eye, then anything goes. Now, that's a position I disagree with. It's true that if you're in the public eye, you have to accept that life changes, that you're going to come under more scrutiny, etc. But there is no public interest argument for hounding people outside their own house, for hiding behind bushes and ramming a camera in someone's face, for pursuing them as they're going into a supermarket or bringing their kids to school. And that's what's particularly sinister about the paparazzi. They're not above stalking celebrities when young children are around. There's been many famous incidents of celebrities snapping, and I don't blame them. In fact, I believe it is absolutely justified in the context of self defense for celebrities to use defensive aggression. I don't even want to call it violence because that would make it sound like they're in the fault. I don't believe they are. If I was in the public eye and I was pursued by these people, I would at some point lash out. Everybody has a breaking point. You know, this isn't just celebrities who have a quick temper. It's anybody. There's been many examples of it. There was a case in the 90s where Bjork, the Icelandic singer Bjork, lashed out. She was tired. She'd had a long journey. And in that case, a female paparazzo, which is quite unusual, was pursuing her and she lashed out. Alec Baldwin is well known for fighting back. Hugh Grant has confronted them. I don't blame them. I really don't. And I get very angry with this excuse that, oh, they're in the public eye, that's it comes with the territory. Nonsense. It's one thing if they're on the red carpet, fine. That's that's where photos are meant to be. And it's true some celebrities are full of themselves, they're divas, they love the attention, etc. I get that argument, but during the phone hacking scandal in the UK, which is related to this, it's about press intrusion. Sienna Miller testified that she was followed by up to a dozen men, male paparazzos, as she went to her London house at different times. I mean, that's a frightening experience for a young woman. It doesn't matter if she is famous or a regular person. Nobody should have to go through that. And what I resent is this idea that if someone's famous, then they somehow lose their human rights. And the right to privacy is a basic human right. I believe that everyone is entitled to that, including the famous. If someone is a legislator or a business person or they're in a position of power, of course their decision should be scrutinized. And, power must be held to account, absolutely. But what the paparazzi do is they hound people, they try to wear them down with ridiculous questions, sometimes insulting questions just to get under their skin. The model Chrissy Teigen, who I'm not very familiar with, but I came across a report recently that she was bombarded with racist questions. I understand she's mixed race. This is the tactics these people use. They are parasites, they are bullies, they are cards, and they are hypocrites. They're parasites because they feed off people's emotions. They'll try to get under someone's skin, they'll try to get emotional response out of them so that it sells a good photo. They are cards because whilst they're very good at hounding celebrities and hounding public figures, they get really, they never show their own faces. And when the tables turn on them, as it occasionally does, they get very defensive and like, oh, how can you do that? How can you ask me those questions? Um, which also comes into their hypocrisy. But they're cards because they can give but can't take. Um, and yeah, it goes without saying that they're widely reviled. But what angers me is firstly those who make excuses for them, like you're famous, therefore it comes with the territory. That's a nonsense excuse. It's got no logic. Um, but secondly, the normalization of them. It makes me angry when publications call them photographers. That's that legitimizes them. Yes, they're taking photographs, but by calling them photographers, that gives them some sort of legitimacy, like it's just a job. They're criminals because in most jurisdictions, stalking is a crime. Now, I believe there's certain parts of the world that is way, way too lenient on the paparazzi. California is one notable example. Certain other American jurisdictions are a bit stricter. In the UK, we're somewhat strict, but I don't believe we go far enough. I believe it should be illegal for a magazine or a newspaper to buy paparazzi photos. Now, to be fair, even the tabloids are somewhat careful about that. After Princess Diana died, that really opened up a lot of scrutiny about paparazzi behaviour. And Piers Morgan, in his Inside biography, said that paparazzi tried to sell him supposedly photos of the dead princess, and he totally rejected that. I mean, this is no defense of Piers Morgan. I think he's in many ways the archetype of a sleazy tabloid editor, but he did refuse that and warned the guy that he was to think very carefully about what he was suggesting by trying to sell those photos. Um, I mean, their aggressive tactics are not only extremely intrusive, they're dangerous, especially when they're pursuing celebrities. I mean, the Princess Diana case is the most famous, but there's other cases. I saw them pursue Justin Bieber, and whether you love Bieber or loathe him, clearly that's dangerous and it's putting other motorists at risk. But that's what these people do. So there shouldn't be any normalization. Let's not call them photographers. Let's not legitimize them. It makes me angry when paparazzi are invited on to comment about events like the legitimate source. I've seen that there's an Australian paparazzo. Apparently, he's actually ran for office. I forget the guy's name. He's quite distinctive. He has dyed hair. Um, Completely, horrible person, and yet they bring him on to they brought him on to This Morning, I believe it was, and interviewed him during. It wasn't Harry and Meghan, it was Kate and William's royal wedding, and they held him up to be some sort of you know photographer, or they asked him a few questions, but it wasn't. That makes me angry. The normalization of these people. I mean, would you bring a rapist on TV or a mugger and just treat them like it was their job? No, you wouldn't. So I think we need to end the normalization of, well, not we, most people can see what they are, but it makes me very angry when otherwise respectable publications like Time Magazine normalize them. I mean, they actually had an interview. It might have been Getty Images. Don't quote me on that. It was either Getty or Time. I can't recall exactly. But they actually had an interview with Ron Galella, the so-called father of the paparazzi. He's 86 now, the guy who stalked Jackie Kennedy, and held him up to be some sort of great role model. This guy is a stalker. He's a scumbag. He should not be normalized. So why do it? I mean, I think that's the biggest problem. There's too many mainstream media people who normalize the paparazzi. They might not use the photographs and they might even criticize it, but they also normalize them by calling them photographers. These people need to be shunned. They deserve all the vitriol that is directed their way because what they do is disgusting. It really is. Um, and to those who try to condone it, if you think that someone being successful as a musician or an actor means they have to put up with getting stalked and their family, their children being stalked, you're deluded. So I think it should be several things can be done. It should be illegal for magazines and newspapers to buy their photographs because that fuels their slimy business. Trash like TMZ need to be shut down. And actually, this brings me to a point about the whole free speech argument. I think the American concept of free speech it's sacred, right? And this is something that is true in all liberal democracies. We hold freedom of expression to be very sacred. But how is paparazzos stalking people? How is that any sort of freedom of expression? A photograph is not. You could argue it's symbolizing something, but it's not speech. It's not an opinion. Not ramming a camera in someone's face when they're clearly uncomfortable. That is not an opinion. So trying to attach the free speech argument to what the paparazzi do, to me, is perverse. And I think that's why they get away with what they do in the States, because they hide behind the First Amendment. But I cannot see any First Amendment context with what they do. So I think states like California seriously need to look at this and examine, well, what about the right to privacy for public figures? Surely there has to be a basic, fundamental right to some privacy. Okay, I get it. If you are one of the most famous actors in the world, you obviously cannot expect life to be just like a regular person. Also, there are celebrities who want the attention of, getting their faces on magazines and so on. I get that. So I understand that you get people in the industry who are craving the attention and they have that diva aspect to them, right? But I think most people in public life they want to be recognized for what they're doing, not for just their name. It's and that's where it's a big flaw in the argument. But the free speech attaching free speech to this, it's absurd. It's utterly absurd. Um, I think we've somewhat improved in this country, but they still exist. I think it should be illegal. I think all paparazzi agencies should be shut down as criminal enterprises. I think they should be stigmatized as criminals, as stalkers, because that's what they are. I mean, the public are against them, but they're still normalized as photographers. Shame on Time Magazine, shame on Getty, and shame on any other mainstream publication that actually tries to normalize these people. Ron Galella is no hero. He might be a pioneer of this stalking movement. He's no hero, and he shouldn't be treated as such. He's nothing but a glorified stalker, as far as I'm concerned. I'll leave it there.